do the right things for the right reasons, the right things will happen. And I know good things lie ahead for this House in this country, and I'm proud of what we've accomplished, especially proud of my team. You know, I've been here my 25th year here, and I've succeeded in large part because I've put a staff together and a team together, many of which have been with me for a long time. And without a great staff, you can't be a great member, and you certainly can't be a great speaker. I want to thank my family for putting up with this all these years. My poor girls, who are now 37 and 35, their first campaign photo was in July of 1981. And so they've had to endure all this. It's one thing for me to have to endure it. I've got thick skin. But, you know, the girls and my wife, they've had to put up with a lot over the years. Let me express my gratitude to my constituents who've sent me here 13 times over the last 25 years. You can't get here without getting votes. And I've said this often. People ask me, what's the greatest thing about being speaker or about being an elected official? And I said, well, it's the people you get to meet. You know, I've met tens of thousands of people in my own congressional district that I would never have met other than the fact that I decided to run for Congress. And over the years, as I traveled on behalf of my colleagues in the party, I've met tens of thousands of additional people all over the country. And you meet rich people, you meet poor people, you meet interesting people, probably a few boring ones along the way. But I can tell you that 99.9% of the people I meet on the road, anywhere, could not be nicer than they've been. It's been wonderful. It's been an honor to serve in this institution. And with that, all right, Junior, go ahead.
Speaker Boehner, you were noticeably overcome with emotion yesterday.
Really? Well, what a surprise.
I'm curious, as you reached this decision last night, if the grace of Pope Francis led you to this decision.
No. Yesterday was a wonderful day. It really was. And was I emotional yesterday? I think I was. I was really emotional in a moment that really no one saw. As the Pope and I were getting ready to exit the building, we found ourselves alone. And the Pope grabbed my left arm and said some very kind words to me about my commitment to kids and education. And the Pope puts his arm around me and kind of pulls me to him and says, "Please pray for me." Well, who am I to pray for the Pope? But I did.
If it wasn't the Pope, then what was it?
Listen, it was never about the vote, all right? There was never any doubt about whether I could survive a vote. I don't want my members to have to go through this. I certainly don't want the institution to go through this. And so, especially when, you know, I knew I was thinking about walking out the door anyway. So it's the right time to do it, and frankly, I am entirely comfortable doing it.
Mr. Speaker, I've heard you say before that a leader who doesn't have anybody following him is just a guy taking a walk.
That's right. I got plenty of people following me, but this turmoil that's been churning now for a couple of months is not good for the members, and it's not good for the institution. And if I wasn't planning on leaving here soon, I can tell you I would not have done this.
If I may just continue, there are people who are on the right in your caucus and even outside of this institution who have been wanting you to step down for some time, who feel that they have a victory today. Do you feel that you were pushed out?
No. The members, I'm glad I made this announcement at the conference with all of my Republican colleagues because it was a very good moment to help kind of rebuild the team. Listen, I feel good about what I've done. I know that every day, I've tried to do the right things for the right reasons and try to do the right thing for the country.
Speaker, how can this not be a moment of turmoil? You said you thought about leaving 2 years ago after Canada's budget. At the time, you said this would have pitched the House in turmoil. You have to keep the government open in a couple of days, debt ceiling. There's going to be
I'm going to be here for another.
barn burner of leadership.
I'm going to be here for another 5 weeks, and I'm not going to leave. I'm not going to sit around here and do nothing for the next 30 days. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and I plan on getting as much of it done as I can before I exit.
And as a result, though, does that make it easier in some ways to make some tougher decisions, maybe relying on Democrats to keep the government open next week or
No,
something?
I'm going to make the same decisions I would have made regardless of this.
Mr. Speaker, you've made no secret of your frustration with some members of your far-right flank and some outside groups. You've used words like knuckleheads and some other words we probably can't use on television. Had you just had enough? And how will anything be different for the next?
No. Let me tell you, I would not describe it as having had enough. And that's not it at all. When you're the Speaker of the House, your number one responsibility is to the institution. And having a vote like this in the institution, I don't think is very healthy. And so I've done everything I can over my term as Speaker to strengthen the institution. And frankly, my move today is another step in that effort to strengthen the institution.
But won't the next Speaker face the same thing?
Hopefully not.
That's my question, Mr. Speaker. How will Washington be different because you leave this institution? What should people watching this expect the House and Congress to do going forward if you're not here?
Well, if the Congress stays focused on the American people's priorities, there will be no problem at all. And while we have differences between Democrats and Republicans, the goal here, as one of the leaders, is to find the common ground. Listen, I talked to President Bush and President Obama this morning. I've talked to all my legislative leaders, who I have a very good relationship with all of them. Because at the end of the day, the leaders have to be able to work with each other, trust each other, to find the common ground, to get things done. So if the Congress stays focused on what is important to the American people, they'll get along just fine.
Can you tell us how your conference reacted to the news?
Oh, I say they were shocked.
Can you
Surprised?
elaborate a little more on that? Maybe how the leadership itself reacted?
Yeah, I told Mr. McCarthy about 2 minutes before I spoke what I was going to do. I had told him 5 times because he didn't believe me. I said, you better believe me.
Should McCarthy be the next speaker?
Listen, I'm not going to be here to vote on the next speaker, but that's up to the members. But having said that, I think that Kevin McCarthy would make an excellent speaker. Yes,
Who was the first person you told, and what did they say?
Well, I told my wife.
What'd you say?
Good. I told my chief of staff and I talked late yesterday, and I told him I was thinking that today might be the day. And I told him I'd sleep on it. So before I went to sleep last night, I told my wife, I said, I might just make an announcement tomorrow. What do you mean? What kind of announcement? Well, I might just tell them it's time to go. So this morning I woke up and walked up to Starbucks as usual and got my coffee and came back and read and walked up to Pete's Diner and saw everybody at Pete's and got home and thought, yep, I think today's the day. So my senior staff was having a meeting at 8:45 and kind of walked in before I opened the house and told them, this is the day. It's going to happen sometime. Well, why not today?
Do you know when the next election might be held?
No. Paul.
What advice will you give Kevin McCarthy based on your 5 years? What advice do you give him to avoid the same pitfalls that you've come across?
Well, I'll tell Kevin, if he's the next speaker, that his number one responsibility is to protect the institution. Nobody else around here has an obligation like that. Secondly, I tell him the same thing I've just told you. If you just do the right thing every day for the right reasons, the right things will happen. You all know me. My colleagues know me. I'm always straight with them. You know, they may not like the answer they get, but they'll get an honest answer every single time they come to my office. It's just an easy way for me to do my job.
You originally planned to announce this on your birthday, and if it wasn't the Pope, what factors sort of weighed in on your decision to do this now?
Just all this stuff I read about in the paper, and you know, it's. I really don't want the institution hurt, and I don't want my colleagues hurt. I don't want to put my colleagues through all this. For what? So, yes.
Speaker, what are you going to miss?
Pardon me?
What will you miss?
What will I miss? Well, of course, all of you. I don't know what I'm going to miss because I haven't missed it yet. But I'll certainly miss the camaraderie.